My name is Jim McGillivray, and this is the Pipe Box, your source for all things piping. If you find this video useful, please give it a like, and please subscribe to this YouTube channel to see more videos like this. We're going to go over some music today, and you can print out this music by going back to the description of this video on my YouTube channel. You'll see a link to a PDF that you can print there. Today I would like to talk to you about some technique. I would like to talk to you about the GDE Gracenote pattern in Strathspeys. GDEs appear in all sorts of time signatures. They appear in jigs, they appear in reels, they appear in marches. Other videos in this series will deal with GDEs in jigs and reels and elsewhere, but for our purposes now we're going to deal with GDEs in Strathspeys. What I mean by the GDE in a Strathspey is this. Most people would describe those as C and B doublings, and when you look at Strathspey music, that's exactly what they look like. But this is going to be one of those frequent cases in pipe music where what we play isn't going to be exactly what is written. Let's look at the music. The first bar shows a Strathspey GDE as you would see it written in a piece of pipe music. A doubling on C, followed by an E grace note on low A. If you look a little more carefully at the technique in this bar, you will see a G grace note, a D grace note, and an E grace note. If you look at bars 2 and 3, you'll see what I think is a more accurate way of writing out this pattern. Here the GDE grace notes are very clear, and I think it's pretty clear how you're expected to express this little passage with a very short C. Unfortunately, you're not going to see Strathspey GDEs written like bar 2 and 3. They're all written as bar 1, and please keep that in mind and remember that this is a GDE movement. It's not a doubling and a short C followed by a low A. Okay, I have 4 exercises for you today, and they are going to get progressively more difficult as we go. The first is a pretty standard Strathspey GDE exercise. Here it is. A few things about this exercise. First off, play the GDEs evenly. Haka-dum, haka-dum. Don't let the way they are written cause you to pause on the C before you go down to the low A. Haka-dum, haka-dum. It's haka-dum. GDE, GDE. Second point, play the G grace note in the GDE as late as you can while still keeping to the beat. This is one of the ways you generate rhythmic power in Strathspeys, is to wait for that haka-dum, 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 something like this. Thirdly, try to play the GDE with snap fairly quickly. If you have trouble playing it quickly, that's okay. Be patient until you're comfortable with that grace note pattern. But once you are comfortable, try to play with some gumption and some Strathspey snap like this. good exercise. If you just played this exercise alone, your Strathspey playing would get better. Okay, let's move on to a slightly more difficult exercise. Here we're going to learn how to play a GDE Strathspey movement after a short note, which appears all the time in Strathspeys. Let's listen to the exercise and then we'll talk about it. You'll notice something a bit unusual here. The very first note of the tune has a double dot on it. The second note has a triple cut. It's short. It's a 30-second note. You'll see this at the beginnings of the bars in this exercise. The reason for this, I'm trying to demonstrate to you how pointed in the extreme Strathspeys are. These are our most pointed tunes. The long notes have to be long and the short notes have to be almost imperceptible, but not quite. It can be a bit of a challenge to play a GDE after a short note, but this pattern appears everywhere in Strathspeys and you need to be able to exercise it if you're going to play Strathspeys well. Again, wait as long as you can on the long note before you play the GDE. Also, be careful not to crush the GDE. That is, put the grace notes too close together so they're almost on top of one another. The clarity of the grace notes is just not there. This is a very rhythmical movement and you want to play it as rhythmically as you can by not crushing the GDEs and by putting that first grace note just squarely on the beat. The GDEs are quick, but they're clear. The next exercise is a short one, but it's one of the most common note patterns we see in Strathspeys around GDEs. Here it is. As you can see, I've used the double dot again on the first note in each bar of this exercise, and the second note is triple cut to be played very short. The E's and the D's in this exercise are very long, and the short note that I've triple cut here is so short, I would say it's about the length of one of the grace note notes in the GDE pattern. So it's very short, something like this. Our last exercise puts all of our previous patterns into one single exercise. I want you to notice how pointed it is. I haven't used the double dots and the triple cuts in this exercise, but remember how long the first note in each bar is and how short the note is afterwards. Always wait for the GDEs. Hit the GDEs as late as you can. Here's our final exercise. As you can hear, that exercise sounds like not a particularly melodic Strathspey, but it's very tune-like, and I'm a great believer in tune simulations once you get the basics of a piece of technique off well on your fingers. Let's talk a little bit about tempo. Optimum tempo for Strathspeys is generally somewhere between 112 and 120 beats per minute. 120 beats per minute is really moving along. Tick-a-tack-a-dum, 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 pleh-a-tiddle-dum, pleh-a-tiddle-dum. If you can play that tempo, play your exercises close to that tempo as long as you're playing the technique well. As I've often said and will continue to say, don't play any faster than you can technically manage. Slow your playing down, play as slowly as you need to play the movement perfectly. Play it perfectly many, many, many times, and you'll be able to bring your tempo up from there. Though I'm calling these Strathspey exercises, this kind of finger work is good for your general level of technique. This will improve your fingering in almost everything you play, pounding exercises like this. Strathspey exercises work your fingers very hard. I have lots more on GDEs and Strathspeys and various time signatures in my technical tutor, Rhythmic Fingerwork, available from me or from dealers near you. That's it for Strathspey GDEs. From me, Jim McGillivray at the Pipe Box, good piping.